Welcome back to Born for This Stories, where we speak the truths no one told us, so you don't have to carry this alone. Today is the second part of our three-part interview with Rebecca, in which she'll share more about the one thing that changed her family's life and resolved one of the most severe cases of JRA her doctors had ever seen.
So we also found some doctors online in Russia who claimed that they could help heal chronic diseases and autoimmune diseases, and they were twins actually, and they told me that they had each had autoimmune diseases and they healed them. And the way that they did it was a vegan diet, a raw vegan diet. So what they wanted us to do was feed our child, who was 5, only raw vegetables, guacamole, flaxseed oil, and that was it.
Wow.
She probably took that really well.
She was a champ.
Impressive. I was very sarcastic and didn't expect that.
I know. I mean, were there breakdowns? Yes, but we told her we were going to do the diet with her. I am not that type of person. So a lot of times I would remove myself from the house to go eat, and my husband was better at supporting her on that diet venture. But it became quickly very clear that that was not making any changes, and she was not being nourished. And I felt in my heart, again, my mom gut that, which moms out there, trust your gut. Like, you got it. Like, there are certain things that you may not know, but you know.
Yeah.
And like, I knew that, like, how is my daughter going to, like, where is she getting any protein from? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just crazy. And I was like, okay, we're going to do a complete.
Was she still on the medication the whole time you were doing that diet?
She was on the medication. We did not up her Humira to the once a week, even though the insurance approved it. I just couldn't do it. And I was like, if it's going to help, we're going to see some incremental change with just the dose that she's on. And so I did not up that during that time. But again, we didn't see any improvement. I felt like she was getting weaker. And at that point, I found another group where they were treating kids with juvenile arthritis with a method of diet, detox, and then supplementation when needed. So we implemented this, and oh man, like, it was one of the toughest things we've ever done, because you have to source clean food. By that, I mean, like, you're not going to the local health food store or natural health store and buying organic chicken. You are going and finding a farmer and getting the chicken right from him. You are going and finding raw milk, and your child can't have that raw milk, but you have to culture that into yogurt, and then you buy cream and you culture that into creme fraiche, and you're just taking only organic sources directly from the farmers. Even organic produce at the store, because it's been in transport, they spray all of those all of the produce in the trucks while they transport them. So you really can't get anything that isn't contaminated with some form of toxin unless you're going directly to the source. So our first job was...
That is also fascinating, by the way, because most people think, which is, how would you know any different, that you want to live a healthier lifestyle, you're going to go to your local, more like organic store versus just your regular grocery chain up the street, and you're going to be good because you're going to buy organic, you're going to buy, grass-fed or whatever. And I'm sure it is still better than like the other things, but
yeah, it's not as clean as you would like to think.
Still not quite there.
So that was the route we went down. We found farmers, and we started doing this, and it was an amazing turnaround. So this is 2022 now, and we started this, I would say, around the middle of August, and by September, she was a totally different child. It was incredible. I will say
middle
that,
of August, and by September she was totally different.
yeah, but
Wow.
it was tough in the beginning because when we changed her diet so radically to this clean food and we started making a nourishing meat stock, which is somewhat similar to bone broth, but a little bit different. We can get into those differences later. Um, she went through a period of about a week where it was almost like she had the flu. She was very sick
Yeah.
and,
It's like
um,
extreme
Detox.
detox and like
yeah,
withdrawal almost from.
die off is what they
Yeah.
called it in our group. And,
Yeah.
we were being explained that, this is the bad microbiome gut stuff fighting the good stuff that's trying to take over. And then when some of these bacteria and different microorganisms die, then the body still has to flush them out. And it's kind of like a toxin overload. So we were also doing a lot of detox things that are a little outside the norm for the American culture. Some people were very offended by what we were subjecting our daughter to and how it might be perceived in a negative way.
Raw
And
healthy food is very offensive.
Well, I think it was the other things that
Yeah.
that she's going to get into, which I'm excited to talk about, because also like I think that's like why this is so important to talk about it, because like it made such a positive impact for your guys' family, and if we don't talk about it, that one person that needs to hear it's never going to know,
yeah,
and that could change their life.
we think here in America that we are exposed and we know a whole lot, but other cultures do things way differently.
Oh, yes.
And kind of educating myself on that made me feel more comfortable with what we were doing, because just as though this wasn't something in the norm that I was raised to do or that my neighbors do or my friends or my community does on a regular basis, it is things that are normal in other countries. So it's not anything that should be looked down upon, in my opinion. So most of the ways that we detox, we would do at least once a day, if not twice a day, detox baths where we're adding either Epsom salt or apple cider vinegar. There's also an algae that we could put in. But one of the biggest things that we did that made a difference was implementing enemas to help flush the toxins out. And that's the area where people would get very offended that I was giving my daughter an enema, and they would almost correlate it to like a sexual thing, which was very weird for me. They're like, isn't she going to be traumatized? Why do you think this is okay? And I'm like, I don't.
Injecting chemicals and holding her down where everyone's crying is okay, but this is not. I mean, that doesn't make sense. But I
also am curious, before you move on, like who are these people like responding? Are these like people in other like Facebook groups that you're in, like talking about this stuff? Are these like family? Are they friends?
have they
Doctors?
walked your journey? I mean, have they had a child with that going on?
I would say that it was probably more feedback that I was getting just from friends that I would say, and I very quickly stopped talking about certain things because at the end of the day, I don't really care what they think. My child's getting better, and
100%.
she is certainly not traumatized by this. As a matter of fact, most of the time she would feel so much better after the enema. And I think you guys are well aware that we did other things on our detox pathway too. One of them was an oxygen chamber where she would be going in for 90 minutes to 2 hours multiple times a week. And if you ask her to this day, she'd say that she would rather do an enema because it's over and done
Fast.
with. And then she can get back to her life.
Yes, and we also did the hyperbaric as well with our son, and I don't fault her for that, because
Long
you are in
sessions.
there for long sessions, and especially like with kids and stuff, like they get bored. I think like as an adult you could go in there and like sleep or like read a book, but as kids they're just like, I can literally not go anywhere.
I am trapped.
I am trapped. And that was definitely tough. So I completely understand what she's saying there.
But yeah, I mean, it was mostly to just keeping it up, and it's a lot of work to prepare this fresh food that that you're buying straight from the farm, and to do these baths and these enemas and all this stuff. So also during this time, we changed her schooling to where she was not going to school 5 days a week.
Okay.
I feel that was very vital to the success of her and her getting better and her health. Because I just don't know how you can fit in everything that you need to do when you're at school from 8 to 3 every day.
Yeah,
and then it makes the mornings more rushed. So morning time was where I always tried to push the most to get our supplements in, to get our healthy day started, to do some detox stuff, because you never know what the day is going to throw at you.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I mean, that's like with anything in life anyway, right? Like you want to be healthy and work out. Like most people that work out in the mornings usually are more consistent than in the afternoon times because
things just come up.
things come up. You got
2
life.
other daughters, somebody
Yeah.
might get sick or need something, or a parent teacher conference or some, just things. Life just happens.
For
So
sure.
we're always pushing it in the mornings. And we do one of the things that we still do to this day, and that I think is very important for our health. And, a lot of our immediate family members do it now, is we get fresh pastured eggs, either from our farmer, or we actually have some chickens now in the backyard.
I love that.
And we take raw egg yolks and we eat them. And one thing that I learned is that egg yolk is the easiest nutrients for your body to absorb besides for breast milk.
Wow.
So for children that are having difficulty absorbing nutrients because their gut is so not balanced, this is a way for their body to absorb nutrients without stressing the digestive system.
And I know people are going to be like, ew, how can you do that? So how do you consume it? How does she consume it?
And how do you make sure you're getting the right eggs where that's okay to do? Because we're all raised that's salmonella, that's all kinds of problems. So how do you know these eggs are safe, these eggs aren't?
I think that's very important. Like, you definitely don't want to just be grabbing some at the store and start eating them raw. That's probably not going to be in your best interest.
Sure.
That being said, I definitely have been through a period of time where we went through that egg shortage.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Life.
And so even at that time, even though I have some backyard chickens, most people are not aware, but chickens don't just lay every single day all year round. They go through a period where they molt and they stop laying eggs, and they lay less in the winter and things of that sort. So I would go and get organic pastured eggs from a grocery store. Basically, you're not looking for free range, because that's not actually out on the pasture. We want to be getting food from animals that have been able to be out in the sunlight, because they need to be having that vitamin D. We can't get nutrients from an animal that doesn't have any nutrients to give.
Sure. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it.
So we just make sure that we try to source our eggs from the cleanest option. So either our own backyard, from our farmer that we know is moving his chickens around on different pastures. Sure. It's the same farmer that we're getting our raw milk from and things like that. They allow us to come to the farm. They do different courses on the farm. So, we felt very comfortable and safe with it. And it's been a game changer. In terms of being able to take it, my daughter, again, just like she was with the other diet changes we threw at her, she's always been a trooper, and she just takes raw egg yolk shots. We have these little, they're like the little cups that you'd put like a soft egg in. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but we just put the egg yolk in there and we cheers and we, bottoms up. That's not my preferred way to take it. I like to mix mine in with the meat stock that we drink, and it makes it creamy. But during this diet, while we're healing, I would be adding an egg yolk to everything. If she was having soup, I would crack open an egg yolk and stir that in before I gave it to her.
So it would still be just as effective, like if it was going in something like warmer?
We don't want anything like boiling where it's cooking it, but as a young kid, her meat stock's barely warm.
Like lukewarm.
Yeah, so it was fine. And even like when we'll have tacos or taco meat or something like that, like I'll open an egg and stir the yolk on top of it, just because it's so great for the B vitamins and all the other nutrients. And again, it's so easy on their digestion. And that's one thing that we're trying to rest and heal, but it's not like an adult where you can put them on a fast. So it's a dance of trying to nourish them and trying to let their digestive system rest. And then also the healing goes in waves too, because you'll get some, like I said, we had that awesome turnaround, but then we also had some downturns. But what we realized what was happening is what we thought were downturns, like we would see some swelling go away, and then all of a sudden one joint that, not a new one, but one before, would swell up and she would have pain there, and then it would go away and it would be gone. Like, and it wouldn't come back. So
almost like a final healing.
like, I think it was
flare.
like getting, so the theory is with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, from our point of view, is that the body is storing the toxins that the body can't flush out and can't process in the joints. So when her body was finally healthy enough to deal with this, it was able to pull those toxins out, process them, and eliminate them. So we found when these things happening, upping the enemas, doing them twice a day so that her body could help flush those out, were just really helpful. And I think detoxing was a big thing, while also ensuring that she wasn't accumulating more toxins. It's just, it was toxin overload.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah.
For our situation. We've definitely heard of other stories where it's triggered, where the children's juvenile arthritis are triggered by other things besides just food toxins, but I think that was the majority cause of our problems. I think I myself have an MTHFR mutation. I just was recently tested for that. I'm sure my daughter has it. I think that she's not able to process and detox these toxins without additional support.
Yes.
I think that's going to be a lifelong thing for her.
Yes.
To stay healthy, but I'm just glad that we know now. And hindsight being what it is, it's almost a blessing what happened to her, because she now has the skills to keep herself healthy moving forward in life.
For sure. And I think, like you just said, like her growing up with these, learning these skills at such a young age, they're implanted in her. So as if something happens, because like, of course we know, like as kids get older, like she's probably going to do things that she wouldn't do so much right now because you're more in control, but hopefully she'll be able to like fall back on all of that foundational support that you taught her and supplied and provided for her to just keep promoting proper detox from her body.
That's definitely our hope. So like I said, we got to September and she was doing so much better. So in October, there was a conference, and one of the doctors, or the doctor that came up with the protocol that we were using to make our daughter better, was going to be speaking at that conference. And she normally lives in, I think it's England. Anyhow, so we're like, let's go. I want to meet this woman in person. And so at this time, she's still on the medication. So we've done this diet, we've done this medication, but again, my mama heart knew that this was not just that medication kicking in and making her better.
Sure.
Like that was not it. And, anybody else from the outside looking in, well, maybe it just took her body longer. You'd only been on it since April and now you're in September. Sure, it could be the medication. I was like, this is not it. And I don't want to, the Western medicine doctors would tell us that she would need to be symptom-free for 1 year before they would consider reducing her medication.
Okay.
So I went to this conference and listened to the doctor speak, and she afterwards was gracious enough to do a meet and greet with people. So I waited in line and I met her, and I told her a little bit about what was going on with my daughter and how much better she was doing. And I said, do you have any advice for me on how to get her off of this medication safely? And she said, yeah, just start cutting it in half and wean her off. So we did that. We started spacing out her medication more. By December, the last injection we gave, I only gave her half the syringe. None of her symptoms were getting worse. And by January of 2023, we were medication free.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So that being said, I continued filling her prescription at the pharmacy every single week, just because I was concerned that we would be maybe looked upon like we weren't taking care of our daughter if we weren't doing this. Yeah. And I also wanted to take her back to the doctors and see how they felt she was doing without that prejudice of we've stopped the medication. So, we ended up going back to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and they did not want to stop her medication because they thought that she was still on it, but they did say that she had no active inflammation. She does still have some ongoing issues or changes because of what she went through. She has some bony overgrowth in her ankles. At that time, she had it in her knees, so her range of motion was not 100% in 2023. So we did continue doing physical therapy and some things like that the medical doctors were able to put in for us. And to this day, especially her left ankle doesn't still have quite the range of motion that we would like to see, but there's no pain. And the thought is that since she's still growing and those growth plates are moving, and that she should hopefully get her range of motion fully back. But it's not holding her back at all. She's doing gymnastics. She's doing everything that a 9-year-old would want to do.
Awesome.
And we're just very happy that we don't have to live that life of medication and illness. And, this medication also lowers your immunity. So a lot of these kids are in the hospital with different infections and different problems multiple times out of the year. And
yeah, I was going to ask that earlier when you were talking about the medication, that if that was a side effect, because as you described it, like they said to do it on whatever Friday, right? So they could be laid up all weekend and then go back to school on Monday. But in my mind, I'm like, if it's a chemotherapy drug, it's decreasing their immune system,
Yes.
right? It makes you immunocompromised. So then we're also sending them back into a petri dish of school.
yeah,
And like, how do you and as a mom, like, how do you protect your child from that? Like, it just in my brain, that's where my brain goes. I'm like, that would be so hard to navigate.
it just, in my mind, it didn't make sense because the Western medicine theory is with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, idiopathic meaning they have no idea where it came from. It's just a mystery. That it's, for some reason, her immune system is in overdrive and her immune system is attacking her own body.
Mm-hmm.
That is not part of my core belief on how bodies work.
Sure.
That's not how I believe that we were beautifully and wonderfully designed by God.
Sure.
So it flew in the face of my religious and personal beliefs of a 3 and 4-year-old. Their body doesn't just wake up one day and decide it's going to attack itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the immune system wasn't attacking the joints. It was trying to attack the toxins that are in the joints.
Mm-hmm.
So their theory is it's an overactive immune system. We tamper down that immune system so it doesn't attack the body, and then they don't get joint damage. And that's, what you do. And you stay on that forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's safe to say it's like an autoimmune
Yeah,
condition
it's definitely
in children.
autoimmune.
And no wonder, like the way you explain it, no wonder it's like really, really hard to find like a specialist in the area that like actually fully knows, because it's coming from presenting from different things, or kids are triggered by different things. So that does have to be hard in navigating that space, at least from a holistic standpoint, right? Because that pathway is a little bit different than mainstream Western medicine. Go get the, medication and it just suppresses everything.
We did present with positive ANA, which some kids don't. So that, from my perspective of what I had learned, is like once you have positive ANA, it doesn't ever go negative. So that was one marker that we were checking and testing, and her numbers would go down. And we did not do any blood work from 2023 until earlier this year in 2025. And we did her ANA again, and it came back negative.
What?
So that
That's
was something we were
amazing.
very excited about.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that you said that, because no matter like what your belief system is, like
That's
you
proof.
were able to go through, do this other type of treatment, and something that never really changes from a positive to a negative did.
Yep.
And she's living a healthy, active lifestyle. Yes, there's still some indication that, like her left ankle, it sounds like.
But that wouldn't have
Right.
changed even if she had stayed on the medication.
100%.
That
right.
was just, it's just a problem that she had the inflammation when she was growing and things like that. And, looking back hindsight, I don't really know how long she was dealing with this, because I can remember, she was my third child, and she had a weird little crawl where she wouldn't put, I forget if it was her right or her left knee down. And so she would be like on one hand and knee and the other one on her foot.
Yeah.
And I just, thought
Yeah.
all kids are weird. I remember one of my friends, their kid crawled backwards, like it's just,
Yeah.
I just thought it was something.
Especially by your third, you learn to not overthink every little nuance, because like kids are so different and everything doesn't have to mean there's a problem.
Right.
And you don't want it to be, right? Like you don't want to, you would go crazy if you tried to turn everything into a problem.
And that certainly wasn't my lifestyle to run to the doctor with every little thing.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a question I had, is what else, was there anything, now that obviously you knew, looking back, was there any signs earlier in her life that would have tipped you off had you obviously already known? Or was everything seeming normal?
Yeah, I definitely think there was. So there was that crawl. Again, I don't think that had I taken her to the doctor that it would have been anything diagnosed at that time. Especially when we had a bigger issue later and it still wasn't diagnosed right
They would have
away.
said the same thing. All kids are weird and do weird things.
Yeah, I mean, she was, all my kids have not been on the top of the weight scale or whatever, but she was falling right in line with how her sisters grew and everything else, and she had chubby cheeks, and this kid would eat, man. She would be screaming. I would be trying to go get the next bite of food and she'd be yelling before I could even get to her mouth. So I wasn't thinking, she was like failure to thrive or anything like that. So, it was just and then the next thing that I remember is when she was a little bit older, 18 months, 2 years, she would hate to be in her car seat and she would say that her back hurt. So again, this kid was a mover and a shaker, and she wanted to keep up with her older sisters, and, they weren't in car seats, and I thought that she just did not want to be in that car seat, and that's what it was.
Complains about it. He doesn't want to be. He wants a booster, just like his older brother.
Yeah. So, hindsight, I hear other parents say that their kids said their back hurt in the car seat. So I think that was a sign. But there wasn't a whole lot that was out there. Like I said, it's not like she was complaining of pain or limping or doing anything that would be a real red flag for most parents.
So how old is she today?
She will be 10 in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of things do you guys still do to support her, or do you not?
We definitely have lightened up. So obviously when you're going through a period where you're trying to heal, if you're trying to heal cancer, if you're trying to heal anything, like, you are immersed in what you're doing, and you do want to try to get back to regular life as you're healing and getting better. So we have lightened up a little bit on certain things, but we try to keep some of the core main things. So by lightening up, do I get all of my food now from the farmer? No, not all the time. But we definitely still only buy organic. I wash everything. And there are times when I will go to the farmer and get an order. We still do not do any conventional dairy. We will only, she'll have raw milk, she'll have yogurt and things of that sort. If anyone wants to go down that rabbit hole, you should really consider removing conventional dairy from your diet. When they pasteurize it, they just remove anything beneficial from it and only leave the inflammatory things behind. That's a story for another day, but
maybe we'll dive into that when we're into our next topic here.
So, we keep up with the clean eating. Every morning she has a cup of her meat stock. Meat stock is what we use to heal and seal the gut, because she definitely had leaky gut. Backtracking, I don't know where this fits in the story, but one of the functional medicine doctors that we saw did diagnose her with SIBO, small intestinal bowel overgrowth. We were able to do a test the first year in 2022, the end of that year, when she had been on this diet and lifestyle change for a little bit, and her SIBO was gone.
Great.
So we definitely have some markers that were showing that we were moving in the right direction there. So we do meat stock every morning. That was something that we were doing 4 and 5 times a day while she was healing, to keep sealing that gut for her, because her microbiome couldn't do it for her. We still do raw egg yolk shots most every morning. I try to make her do 2 on Tuesdays. It's 2-shot Tuesday.
Love that.
And she does take supplements. One of the things that we're big on is cod liver oil, and that is really good for vitamin D. And it's interesting because if our grandparents, when they were younger, when they would go to school, they would give them cod liver oil in the winter.
In school?
In school.
Oh, wow.
That used to be a thing. And we just line up, and it tastes gross, and they would all have to take a spoonful of it. And
well, that's hysterical, because I literally recently was like, I need to get my kids on some omega-3s, and I'm used to taking the liquid kind. I'm like, there's no way they're going to take it. I'm like, and they can't swallow pills. I'm like, how am I going to trick them into getting this?
I think it's Green Pastures has some flavored
Okay.
fermented cod liver oil. We definitely have tried them at a couple of conferences we've been at, and Honora has gotten very good at just taking supplements.
Sure.
So she takes those, and we've cycled through a few different things. She was taking some glutathione for a while, some NAC, and I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, we absolutely take liver pills. So you can buy these supplements, and they're very pricey, in my opinion, where you're getting, liver or different organs. But one of the easiest and cheapest things that we found to do is to buy liver from a farmer with, organic meat, put that liver in your freezer for 2 weeks so that it will kill off anything bad potentially that might be in there. And then we pull it out of the freezer, and as it's thawing, it's a little easier to cut. We cut it up into little pill-sized tablets, and she takes a couple of those every morning. We put them back in the freezer once they're in little
So you
tablets.
just swallow them frozen.
Yeah, just swallow them frozen.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great way to get liver in. Another thing that we do is
put that on my Christmas list.
Get chicken livers because they're a little bit milder tasting, and I will crumble those up and add that into our taco meat.
Yeah.
And nobody even knows that it's there. It's a great way to get these organs in. That's another thing that in our culture we really underutilize, and people think that eating head to tail is not appetizing.
Yeah.
And there are some areas where I've had trouble too. Like I have a beef heart in my freezer that's been there for almost a year now because I bought it with the best of intentions that I was going to cook it and do it, and I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, it's that mental process. But I will say it's becoming more common because even at one of the grocery stores, the more organic grocery store around here, you can now get a blended meatball, right? Just like you were saying, it's beef and liver.
That's so great.
In it. So if you can buy it in the store, more people are doing it.
Yeah, I know.
And seeing the benefits of it and everything like that.
Absolutely. I mean, we're even seeing some restaurants pop up that are doing more anti-inflammatory type diet type food. So it's exciting to see that information is getting out there. And I think one thing is, that a lot of people want things to be like a one size fits all. And that's just not the case. Like my daughter obviously is more sensitive to certain things. And that's, if we treat her as an individual and give her body what she needs, she can thrive. And I just want other parents to know that, because it seems like that information is kind of kept from us. Even in the parent groups that I'm in now for juvenile arthritis, parents get very offended when I say anything about my daughter's story. They'll say, I tried diet change, it didn't work.
That's so sad too, which is why we do this podcast, is because all stories should be available and shared unbiasedly. There should be no judgment.
And that also goes back to you saying trust your gut.
Yes.
Because you see your daughter every single day, every move she makes. No doctor can see that. So they can't react to every small change that you see that you can't even necessarily put into words. You just happen to notice that it's changing.
Another thing with when you take your child to the doctor too, things that affect your daily life and your quality of life seem to be things that they'll brush off as not important.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of specifics, but I just remember things like, we're dealing with this or whatever. You'll get through it, or it'll pass, or let's see how it goes next time you come in 3 months or whatever. It's I'm supposed to deal with this on a daily basis for 3 months, and you're going to go about and live your life, and I'm going to go home and live this.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I find very interesting, and I look at things differently now when I read different medical things of outcomes of different studies.
Yes.
It's how realistic is that in terms of how is this person's living quality of life? Because again, this brings me back to, I feel very blessed that my daughter did not respond to the medication.
Yeah.
At the time, of course, I wanted her to.
Sure.
I didn't want her to have a swelling and not being able to participate and do the things that she wanted to do. But I wonder if the medication had worked, if we would have just stayed more on that route or not pushed as hard and done the changes that we did, if they had worked. But you're trading one for the other. Like you said, we would be giving up, every weekend if she was a kid that got sick, or she would be going into the hospital for different infections. So it's that quality of life. Like who wants their child to feel sick for a whole day after they get an injection or something like that? That's just not the lifestyle that I think anybody wants to live. And I feel like that parents should just know that there are other things out there, and not everything is going to work for every person.
Sure.
But I searched for the information that I was looking for, and it took me a long time to find it.
Yeah.
And so it's not just going to just fall into these people's hands. And it's even worse when we go to the rheumatologist. And for a while, we also had to go to an ophthalmologist, because this also correlates with uveitis in children with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, which is inflammation in the eye, which will not be painful or be felt, but can cause permanent sight issues and blindness. So we were going to the ophthalmologist every 3 months, which luckily she never dealt with uveitis. That was fantastic. But, we're leaving and they're all trying to give her candy. And, can she have a popsicle? Can she have a sucker? Can she have this? I'm like, no, she can't.
Yeah.
And even when they say, it's like sugar-free, I'm like, it's bright blue.
Yeah.
Like, this is not.
It's not naturally found in the wilderness.
Yes.
Can't get that from your farm.
Never seen that at my farmer's farm.
And even the rheumatologists, they'll tell you, of course, a healthy diet is good. They're not going to go into what a healthy diet means, but they're like, of course it's good, but it's not going to fix the problem. And I also think that parents need to know that it's way more than a healthy diet that you need to heal a child. It's one thing to take a healthy child and keep them healthy with a healthy diet. That's great and that's fantastic.
Sure.
But you have to take things to the next level. I remember when we were in the thick of it, and especially on the days when I was just home with my daughter when she was home from school, every moment of the day I'm thinking, what can I do right now to help her body? Like, what can we do to detox? Can we go outside and jump on the trampoline a little bit? Can we do this? And like, can I sneak in a little bit of extra meat stock here? Like, can we we're each going to do a shot of it and see who can drink the most, the fastest, or whatever. Because at this point too, they do get a little exhausted with it, especially because I'm just trying to pour all the goodness down her throat as much as possible. And she wants to be a kid.
Yeah.
So, without having that mindset and without being with your child throughout the day for most of the days, I don't know how you can bring them back to health. And that's another area where people, I think a lot of parents and especially rheumatologists, they view this as an autoimmune disease, a chronic thing, and you should just try to live your life as normal as possible and whatever else. And I would like to view it more as something emergent and needs to be addressed immediately, like a cancer, and you need to get in there. And if your child is, or if any person is diagnosed with a cancer, there is a treatment, a regimen, and nobody balks at like, oh, you have to quit work, oh, you have to do this, that's just
Immediate
what you do.
intervention. Yeah.
And that's the way that this needs to be viewed, in my opinion, if you want to go from this area of severe unwellness with toxins throughout your body to health.
Yeah.
So what kind of time investment was all of that for you, even just creating this diet and sticking to it? And I mean, how, as a working mom too, you own a business, like how did you manage all that and what did that look like?
Well, the first year before when we were going to functional medicine doctors and things of that sort, I was still mostly working. We were doing diet changes, but I wasn't aware of the detox stuff, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was still trying to figure it out. And so that year, I still worked quite a bit. The next year, when she was much sicker and she when we found this new way of lifestyle and trying to heal, I basically stopped working. There was a couple things that I would do. I am blessed to be in a situation where my husband and I are business partners, so he picked up a whole lot of the slack, and I was just at home learning and trying to figure out how to do this. I remember being in the kitchen and trying to figure out how to prepare this food in the correct manner because, like I said, we're culturing the raw milk. We're just doing all these things that I wasn't familiar with how to do, making the meat stock and
you probably would have learned it decades ago.
Yes.
But we definitely don't learn that now.
Correct. And it was stressful to be in the kitchen and like try and find the recipes and try and figure it out and try and make it something that she was going to like to eat and all this. And that's all I can say. It was very high stress time for me. And it's so interesting now because now can go in the kitchen and I know what I'm doing and it's more of a relaxed time. You know, I can put on music or I can put on a podcast and I don't have to think because I know already, but that learning curve is steep and it's hard.
Yeah. And I think that can kind of tie you back to like probably why some people weren't very supportive in the groups, because maybe they did try, but they didn't, I don't mean this in a mean way, like maybe they didn't try long enough, or maybe their kid did have a die-off reaction. They're like, absolutely not. I cannot continue on. My kid is so sick. But if you are in the natural world, like, you know, like herxine is a real thing. Like die-off is a real thing. And the person can get flu-like and ill and you have to get through it, or you got to turn the whatever you're doing down and do it slower. But then also anyone learning something new can quickly get deterred by the overwhelming amount of research, repetition needs to happen to make it second nature.
Yes, I kind of viewed it like there are a lot of parents that if they even find the right mix of diet and their child experiences the die-off, that they're overwhelmed by that. And I looked at it more of it's almost like when you have a loved one that dies and you have to go through that grief. There's no way around it. You just have to go through it.
Sure.
And that's how I feel about what we had to do with our daughter. Like there's no, like, I don't wish this on her, but there's no other way but forward.
Right.
Like we have to do this.
Right.
And then I think that a lot of parents, again, did what we did in the beginning. They removed gluten, they removed dairy, maybe they cut out sugar if they're lucky. And, you know, they don't see that turnaround or whatever. And so they're like, okay, it didn't work.
Yeah.
But that's also because there's so many people that are being told by every other source that, you know, this is a waste of your time. This isn't going to help. Everybody else tried this. If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. And that's the thing. It's not easy. And it's way more than just no gluten and no dairy. And
earlier on, you tried the vegan diet and you said it didn't work. You easily could have been that mom that said, oh, diet change didn't work. But just because one diet change didn't work didn't mean something else wouldn't have worked. And maybe this exact plan wouldn't work for somebody else, but there is a different form of eating or a different nutrient that the child is missing that can work. So it's not.
I agree with that. And I do want to say, like, even though I gave up on the vegan diet and I didn't give up on this other pathway, that again, that was a whole trusting my gut thing. Like I felt in my heart, even when these doctors wanted us to try this vegan diet, I was like, I'm going to try it because I'm going to try everything. Sure. But I didn't buy into it. Yeah. And then when I found this new way of doing things, and I also looked back kind of historically on how people would eat and how our bodies functioned and processed foods and things of that sort, it seemed like it fit, like it made sense in that regard. So this goes back to like, I think that one of the biggest problems with our society with mothers now is they rob us of our innate knowledge and they try to make us second guess ourselves. And like I said, sometimes you just know and you have to learn to trust yourself.
I think in almost every episode we've recorded regarding like a mom and her child, somewhere in their story is the fact that they had to overcome like some sort of someone telling them no, right? Like, and because they trusted so much in their gut that this provider wasn't right or this pathway wasn't right, or there's something going on that is very important that the provider is missing, and I'm going to push harder
and make that
person, no matter if they don't want to, do a test to show, or, you know, whatever the outcome is. And if they didn't do that, the outcome for that, all of those children would be so different than what currently everyone's dealing with and looking at. So it's so important to listen to that. And that's part of like empowering the mom and the dad or whoever the caregiver is that if you feel like something's not right or there's something more that you need to push for, be that squeaky wheel, because you'll never regret making that decision for your child or grandchild or whomever you're dealing with.
I love that word too, like, because I will tell you that to know that I healed my child and changed her pathway in life is extremely empowering. And not only that, but it has given me skills and knowledge on how to help keep the rest of the family healthy in the future. And it just, that's all I can say is, and it's so astounding to me that I will tell people this story and they don't bat an eye. Like, they just think that it's normal. And I'm like, we reversed an autoimmune disease that's supposed to not be able to be reversed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's phenomenal. Like, I'm so, like, just over the moon that we're able to share this story, because hopefully it lands with even just one person that feels the way that you did, and but doesn't have, that is maybe on the other side, right? At the very beginning of their journey, and like, I don't know what to do, or I just feel like there's something more. And hopefully they follow a similar path, or they reach out, or they do the similar thing so they can have the outcome that you had, because it can happen.
For this diet, is there any resources that you found specifically like life-changing for you and your daughter? Was there anything that people should look to for?
Well, definitely. One of the things that I loved about this diet and lifestyle change is that the doctor says, like, you don't need to run a bunch of tests. You don't need to pay a bunch of money. Buy the book. It's like $26 and follow it. Now, is that easy to do? No.
Yeah.
But
seems easy. Sounds easy.
but
But you have to choose your heart. Going through all
yeah.
the injections and going through all the chemicals and all these things that could change your daughter's life forever in a negative way, or it could help, but it could also harm them. You got to choose your heart.
Absolutely. And there are definitely groups out there. There are coaches and practitioners that can guide you along the way if you need that extra help. But I just liked the fact that it wasn't something where it was a cost prohibitive thing for some parents. Like, anybody can do this.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that I feel strongly that having that extremely clean food was a major factor for my daughter. But there is a certain expense that comes with that.
Sure.
And in this book, the doctor even states, if you don't have access, do the best with what you can come across, bless it, and move on. Like, she does have stories of people that were using conventional meat, or they live in other countries where their food isn't labeled or whatever, and they're still finding healing. So it might come at a different pace.
Yeah.
But they're still finding healing, and I think that's a big deal.
That is. And I would love to take this moment right here to, like, in one moment, I want you to say what the diet is, because we haven't said it. And then we're going to keep you all on the ledge, because then next week we're going to go through and talk about it and dive all into what it is. So what diet did you use to help your daughter?
So we follow Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. She came out with the GAPS diet. So she was a neurologist.
Wow.
And her son was diagnosed with autism. And she quickly realized that her Western medicine knowledge was not of any benefit to her child. And she went back to school for nutrition. That being said, I know she got her neurology degree in Russia, but I'm not sure where she went to school for nutrition. But this was also a number of decades ago. And the first book that she put out is her yellow book. It's labeled GAPS, which stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And so it was all about how the toxins affect the brain and how to help children with autism and things of that sort. Then, as she was running her clinic and implementing this, she realized that there was a correlation that a lot of her patients that had autism, their siblings had other issues, or their parents had autoimmune diseases. And she realized that gut connection happens not only with autism and the psychology part of it, which there's finally studies coming out now about how it affects depression and all kinds of other things. So she came out with her blue book, which is the Gut and Physiology Syndrome. And that's what we follow to reverse the juvenile arthritis. And it's a whole different lifestyle. You literally have to change the way that you live and that you think and that you eat. And it's a lot, but it's amazing and empowering.
Change. Yeah. Thanks for listening to this second part of our 3-part interview with Rebecca. Be sure to check back for next week's episode. which will be the third and final part of this amazing interview, during which we will go further into the GAPS diet and how to leverage it for juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, but also much more. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love for you to take one simple step. Share it with a friend, another parent, or a caregiver who might need to know they are not alone in this journey. Make sure you are subscribed so you will never miss an episode. We release new stories every Monday. And if you're looking for more connection, resources, or ways to share your own story, come join us on Instagram at Born for This Stories, or visit our website at bornforthisstories.com. Remember, whatever part of the journey you're in, the waiting room, the recovery, or the in-between, you do not have to carry it alone. We see you, we stand with you, and never forget, you were born for this.